Happy Monday. It's a big week coming up in politics and corruption, so let's get started. Donald Trump continues to tank the economy with his erratic behavior and even more erratic trade policy. On Wednesday, Trump will announce his latest, and depending on who in the administration you ask, either the most dramatic blanket tariffs thus far or strategic and targeted tariffs. You can guess which way Trump leans, as strategic and targeted placement might apply to his hair plugs, but nothing else about him. Unsurprisingly, consumer confidence is down for a third straight month, which we're almost certainly going to see showing up as a decrease in economic growth. The stock market and those with investments and retirement plans linked to the market are feeling it already, with stocks dramatically down. The S&P 500 is on pace to shrink 5% in the first quarter of this year. Something else about this first quarter is different from all 4 quarters of last year when we saw strong economic growth. I'm going to remember what... Oh, yes. Trump has been in office for most of the first quarter. Americans, fearful of Trump's inane lack of sound economic policy, are cutting back on spending. Last month, consumers spent less on airline reservations, cars, electronics, sporting goods, dining out. That's just part of the list. And we're not talking about just low and middle income Americans cutting back. Economists are seeing wealthy Americans dialing back spending as well. Fortunately, Trump has very sane, stable, grounded folks in his administration who can calm Americans' fears and stick to facts, or at least fact-based economic projections. Case in point, the very sane and stable Peter Navarro, who over the weekend announced that Trump's new tariffs, with no basis in fact, will raise more than $6 trillion over the next 10 years.
First of all, we're going to raise about $100 billion with the auto tariffs alone. What we're going to do is, in the new tax bill that has to pass, it absolutely has to pass, we're going to provide tax benefits, tax credits to the people who buy American cars. This is a genius thing that President Trump promised on the campaign trail. So that's going to happen. In addition, the other tariffs are going to raise about $600 billion a year, about $6 trillion over a 10-year period. And we're going to have tax cuts. It's the biggest tax cut in American history for the middle class, for the blue-collar deplorables. And that is going to, if you look at this but basically holistically, as they say, consumers and Americans are going to be better off, including all the jobs they get.
Now, say that's even true. The part that Navarro leaves out is that it's the American people paying higher prices for goods that would generate that revenue, which economists say would represent the largest peacetime tax hike in U.S. history. Someone who isn't feeling the economic pinch is Elon Musk, who's out there trying to buy what most of us can't afford, and even if we could, we wouldn't try to buy one, a Supreme Court seat.
Trying to buy the election. He's trying to pay people to vote.
He's the richest man in the world. He's got endless amounts of money. Who else is he going to try and buy next?
Elon Musk has spent $3 million of his own money in addition to over $12 million from his America PAC. And on the Democratic side, there are also billionaire donors like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and George Soros. The difference is, though, is that to our knowledge, we haven't seen any of those offering $1 million giveaways. But Elon Musk is not afraid to spend his time, his posts on X, or his money in this race, even creating a door-knocking program that offers financial incentives to canvassers to turn out the vote here in tomorrow's race, Anna.
This seat on Wisconsin's High Court is important to Musk for at least a couple of reasons, not the least of which is that he will have business before this court this year. The outcome of this race will tip the majority to the conservatives or leave it in the hands of the moderates and liberals. Guess who Sissy SpaceX is backing? $90 million have been spent on this race, the most in American history on a judicial race, and 20 million of that 90 has come directly from Musk. More than Musk's case are on that Supreme Court ballot, though. Wisconsin's 1894 law that bans nearly all abortions is before the court, and the court will also hear arguments to determine if the state's constitution guarantees abortion rights. This race is bigger still, though, than those very big stakes in Wisconsin. It's being seen as a referendum on Trump's first 3 months in office. So far, those reviews are so bad that late last week, Trump pulled Elise Stefanik's nomination as ambassador to the United Nations for fear the GOP couldn't hold on to her seat in a special election. That's a seat in a solidly red district in New York State that Stefanik just a few short months ago won by 24 points. The American people aren't happy, and the GOP cracks are showing. I'll leave you with one other bit of good news to start off your week. Marine Le Pen, the French far-right candidate and 3-time loser running for the French presidency, has been found guilty of embezzlement and is now ineligible to run for office for 5 years, meaning she can't run in the 2027 presidential election unless she wins her case on appeal.
Judges in France found Marine Le Pen guilty today after the far-right politician was accused of improperly allocating millions of dollars in EU funding. With the conviction, she could face up to 5 years in prison and a 5-year ban from running for public office, something that has sparked deep divisions across France and Europe. Prosecutors argued that no one is above the law, while Le Pen's supporters suggested the judicial system is overstepping its bounds. Although the judges issued their ruling this morning, they didn't immediately say what her sentence might be and how it might impact her political future.
So let's hope the higher courts in France have the courage to do the right thing. As in the US, the courts are an essential firewall against fascism. So hat tip to the attorneys and law firms in America that are willing to fight for the rule of law and not bend the knee to Trump. And yes, I am talking about you, Paul Weiss, with the grotesque knee bending. Capitulating to Trump is not something you'll see here at Lincoln Square. Please subscribe here and help support our work.